It was a gray afternoon when I first saw the notifications lighting up my phone. Each ping sent a jarring tremor through my heart. I glanced down, my breath hitching in my throat as I read the messages piling up from friends and family, asking me if the rumors about me were true. Attached were intimate photos, images that should have remained hidden, cherished only by me and the man I once loved. My husband, Jack, had betrayed me in the most devastating way possible. Jack and I were once the epitome of a happy couple. Our love story began when we met in college, two ambitious souls lost in the whirlwind of late-night study sessions and dreams of the future. I was enthusiastic about communications, and he was passionate about business. We shared laughter, long walks on campus, and the innocent hope that love would conquer all. Only 2 years into our dating, Jack proposed during a spontaneous trip to the beach. As the sun set over the waves, the golden light felt like a celestial witness to our commitment. I said yes, believing that nothing could tear us apart. As our wedding day approached, life felt like a dream. Our families celebrated our union, and friends showered us with blessings. We were young, ambitious, and driven. After university, we settled into a cozy apartment and built a life together. But as the years passed, the initial magic of our marriage faded, eroded by the pressures of life. Arguments about finances, careers, and the grim realities of adulthood began to chip away at our bond. I tried to rekindle the spark, planned romantic dinners, surprise date nights, but Jack seemed more interested in his work, often shutting me out emotionally. It was one evening, after what felt like weeks of fighting and distance, that the truth began to unravel. Jack arrived home late, the shadow of guilt lurking behind his eyes. The scent of floral perfume clung to him like a bitter reminder. Confronting him felt like stepping into an avalanche of sadness, but I had to know. Are you seeing someone else? My voice trembled as I asked the question that hung in the air between us. He paused, just a moment, but it was enough to send my heart racing.
What? No.
Don't be ridiculous, he snapped, though the hesitation in his response spoke volumes. I wanted to believe him, but the signs had become too loud to ignore. I began to investigate discreetly, checking his phone and social media, only to discover messages from a woman I barely knew, someone from his office. Each word cut like glass, and each revelation sunk further into my soul. When I finally confronted Jack with undeniable evidence, his facade crumbled. Anger erupted. He accused me of invading his privacy, claiming I was being paranoid. My heart shattered as he justified his betrayal, displaying a hauntingly cold demeanor. It was clear our marriage was teetering on the brink. With deep hurt and profound disappointment, I knew I had to take drastic measures. I filed for divorce, feeling as if I were tearing a piece of my heart out in the process. The legal proceedings dragged on for months. Each meeting felt like a stab to my already wounded heart. We fought bitterly over assets, our shared life crashing down around us like a demolished building. Every time I looked into Jack's eyes, I saw a man I once adored transformed into someone unrecognizable. The emotional toll weighed heavily on us both, and the love we once shared felt like a distant memory, lost in the chaos of our unraveling. Despite the heartache, I was determined to reclaim my independence. I immersed myself in work, focused on my passion for writing and storytelling. Friends encouraged me, reminding me that life continues beyond heartbreak. Slowly, I found solace in penning down my experiences, rediscovering who I was outside the confines of a toxic relationship. Writing became my therapy, my escape, a way to navigate the tumultuous seas of post-divorce life. But just when I felt I was beginning to piece my life back together, catastrophe struck. The images surfaced. They flooded my phone with messages I could hardly bear to read. Is it true? I can't believe Jack would do this. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Each notification was a dagger to my chest, a reminder of Jack's betrayal that I had tried so hard to leave behind. The mention of my name in whispers sent chills down my spine. I had always prided myself on my privacy and dignity. How could he have taken those precious moments we had shared so intimately and turned them into weapons against me? The realization settled in my gut like a thick stone. Jack wanted to humiliate me, to destroy everything I had built in the aftermath of our breakup. The pictures were more than just images. They were a full frontal assault on my identity, my self-worth, and my dignity. Despair enveloped me like a heavy fog, clouding my thoughts and leaving me gasping for clarity. The shame was overwhelming, and every new notification felt like another stab at my already wounded heart. I felt exposed, a stranger in a world I once felt safe in. It was unbearable to think about my parents receiving those images, friends turning their heads in pity.
Who was I anymore?
Sitting on my couch, grief washed over me in waves as hot tears streamed down my face. I buried my head in my hands, praying that this nightmare would end, wishing perhaps I'd wake up to find it was just a cruel dream. My fingers trembled as I tapped my best friend, Laura, desperate to confide in someone who could help me make sense of the chaos. Laura had been my rock throughout the tumult of the divorce. Over coffee one evening, I poured out my heart, sharing every painful detail of the humiliation I had endured. My voice cracked as I described the notifications, the conversations, the horrified disbelief. "He's trying to ruin me," I whispered, my heart heavy with despair. "You need to take control of this situation," Laura said, her voice firm with determination. "You cannot let him define you or your narrative. You need to fight back." Her words resonated deeply and ignited a spark of rage and determination within me that I hadn't felt in a long time. I was angry, yes, but more than that, I was ready to take back the power that Jack had so callously stolen from me. I reached out to my lawyer, Susan, a woman with the tough exterior of someone who had seen it all. Over the phone, I recounted the hurt and shame I was grappling with since the photos leaked. "We need to file for defamation," Susan advised, her voice steady and reassuring. "What he did is illegal. This is not just a personal violation, it's a crime." Hearing her words sparked a flicker of hope within me. I wasn't powerless. I could do something about this. Together, we crafted a legal response to the scandal. I collected evidence, cataloging every post, every message, every shared image that haunted my digital space. It was a tedious process, going through old messages, screenshots, and timelines, but it was also cathartic. I felt a flicker of empowerment with every piece of evidence I saved. With Laura beside me for moral support, I turned my pain into action. While we prepared for legal action, I also decided a public response was necessary. I knew I couldn't let Jack's actions define how the world viewed me. It was time to stand up, not just for myself, but for all the other women who might suffer from similar betrayals. During one sleepless night, I crafted a statement, addressing what had happened without letting shame sneak in. Recently, private and intimate photos of mine were shared without my consent. This betrayal is beyond comprehension. I trust that those who know me understand that these actions reflect more about my ex than they ever could about me. The next morning, I hit post, my heart racing as fear and anticipation coursed through my veins. The world felt suddenly large, and my hands trembled as I waited for the reaction. Responses poured in, support, love, and anger directed toward Jack. My friends rallied around me, and family members expressed their outrage. The dam of shame broke, and I felt a swell of empowerment. I finally felt like I was taking control back, reclaiming my narrative. Yet, as the days passed, the legal process loomed ahead of me like a storm cloud. I faced Jack in court, a man I once loved standing across from me, transformed into a source of deep betrayal. His eyes held no remorse as we presented our cases. The judge listened attentively, absorbing every detail. I did my best to remain composed. I had to show that I was still strong and resilient. But as I stood there presenting my case, I couldn't shake the memories of love we once shared. It felt surreal to be confronting my past so starkly. The court decided in my favor, but the victory felt bittersweet. While there was financial recompense for the emotional distress and privacy breach, my heart remained heavy. No amount of money could heal the wounds of betrayal. I realized that the true journey of healing lay outside of the courtroom and within my own heart and mind. In the weeks following the judgment, I devoted myself to my writing and personal growth. I explored self-discovery through workshops, yoga classes, and retreats that focused on healing. Each session helped me understand that my worth wasn't defined by Jack's actions or the maliciousness he threw my way. I learned to embrace self-love and forgiveness, starting with the most challenging person to forgive, myself. For too long, I had blamed myself for his actions, feeling inadequate and unworthy. I continued my journey. I began to recognize the strength that lay within me, buried beneath the ashes of my past. I attended support groups filled with women who had experienced similar betrayals, and as we shared our stories, I felt an unmistakable bond form between us. There was power in vulnerability, and I could see the light returning to their eyes as they spoke about overcoming their struggle. Among them was Emily, a woman in her 30s who had recently gone through a public separation. Her story resonated deeply with me, as she too had dealt with a partner who had betrayed her trust. We became fast friends, bonding over our shared experiences of heartache and resilience. With her support, I began to rediscover joy in everyday moments, whether it was a quiet morning with a cup of coffee, a stroll through the park, or simply curling up with a good book. Laughter gradually returned to my life, and with it, hope. As I immersed myself in these transformative activities, I also found solace in my writing. I started a blog focusing on empowerment and healing after betrayal. Sharing my story publicly wasn't just therapeutic, it became a way to connect with others. With every post, I spoke about the importance of boundaries, the significance of self-respect, and the necessity of healing. I wanted to help others see that, while the darkness felt all-consuming, there was a flicker of light still present. My blog gained traction, drawing readers who found comfort in my words. Comments poured in, filled with encouragement and shared experiences. The connection with my audience reaffirmed my belief that I wasn't alone, and it motivated me to keep advocating for others facing similar situations. Eventually, I received opportunities to speak at various events about my experiences, empowering those who had felt isolated in their pain. Standing on stage, I transitioned from a voice of shame to a beacon of hope, for myself and for others. Months turned into a year since the exposure of the photos, and I had grown into a stronger version of myself. I found joy in little things, learning to cook new recipes, taking spontaneous weekend trips, even picking up hobbies like painting. For the first time in a long time, the thought of what Jack did began to change from something that haunted me into a lesson that propelled me forward. I realized I couldn't allow that chapter to define my future. Instead, it served as a turning point on my journey of reclaiming my identity. Then came the day I received a message from Jack. My palms grew clammy as I opened it, bracing myself for the old feelings of hurt and anger to resurface. He wanted to meet. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to throw my phone across the room and move on with my life. But another part felt a mixture of curiosity and the desire to finally confront him face to face. I agreed, setting a date to meet at a cafe where we used to go when we were happy. When the day arrived, my heart raced as I walked into the familiar space. Jack was already seated, a remorseful expression on his face as he looked up to see me. There was a heaviness in the air, and I felt a surge of old emotions intertwine with the strength I had built. As I sat down, I guarded my heart, ready to hear what he had to say, but unwilling to let it chip away at the progress I had made. "Mia," he started, his voice soft but heavy with regret. "I know I don't have any right to ask for your forgiveness, but I'm truly sorry for what I did. I never meant for it to come to this." The sincerity in his eyes surprised me, but I remained guarded. It was a double-edged sword. He had hurt me in ways I couldn't easily forget. "I don't think you understand the extent of what you did, Jack," I replied, my voice steady. "This isn't just about the photos. It's about betrayal, about the trust that was shattered." I paused, letting my emotions swirl as memories flooded back, times when I felt loved, the laughter we shared. "You destroyed our life together, and I had to build a new one from the ashes." He nodded, his gaze drooping. "I've been going to therapy since. Well, since the divorce. I've realized the extent of my actions, and how deeply I hurt you. I lost sight of what matters. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I was the one who messed it all up." I watched him speak, searching for any sign that he was being genuine. "Jack, actions speak louder than words. Your sorrow couldn't undo the damage you inflicted." It went unsaid, but a part of me craved closure. I needed to validate my own feelings, to express the hurt and loneliness he had caused. "I understand," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "I know you've rebuilt your life without me, and I'm proud of you. It in your blog and social media. You're thriving, and honestly, that makes me happy. But, selfishly, I want you to know that I've been working on myself to become a better person. I realize that I can never erase what I've done, but I want you to know I regret every moment that led to this." His words were heavy, and I felt a wave of conflicting emotions wash over me. Part of me wanted to shout, to express the anger that had simmered beneath the surface for so long. But I could also see that he was struggling with guilt, grappling with the consequences of his actions. Yet what I truly needed was clarity. "Jack, I appreciate your willingness to apologize," I said, choosing my words carefully. "But I have to stand firm in my boundaries. I can't become your emotional crutch or a reminder of your mistakes. I've worked hard to reclaim my life and my worth, and while I accept that you've changed, I'm not responsible for your healing." He nodded solemnly, understanding the weight of my words. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away, or even at all, really. I just needed you to know how sorry I am. I hope that one day you can find it in your heart to let go of the anger, even if it's not for me." I thought for a moment, allowing the silence to settle between us. Forgiveness isn't about absolution, it's about releasing my own pain. I can't deny that I'm still healing. Each day has been a step forward, yet I'm wary of letting my past dictate how I feel about myself. We spoke a while longer, each sharing pieces of our lives since the implosion of our marriage. Jack talked about his counseling, and I shared snippets of my newfound passions and the friendships I had cultivated. As the conversation flowed, I noticed a slight shift inside me. The anger was still there, but it was accompanied by a sense of understanding. Perhaps I wasn't entirely ready to forgive, but I didn't have to hold on to the pain either. After an hour, we parted ways. Stepping out of the cafe, I felt lighter, liberated in a way I hadn't anticipated. I had come to confront my past, and while the scars remained, they no longer held my heart hostage. I walked into the sunlit street, a wave of realization washing over me. My journey was mine to own. Jack's chapter was closed, and it was time to continue writing my own story without him. In the months that followed, I continued to cultivate the life I had worked so tirelessly to build. My blog blossomed into a community where others found solace and strength. I participated in workshops, inviting speakers who had triumphed over adversity to share their stories. The connections deepened, and soon I hosted virtual summits focusing on healing after betrayal. It felt beautiful to offer guidance and support, creating safe spaces for women and men who wanted to reclaim their identities. Through this journey, I began to realize the power of vulnerability. Sharing my story was no longer a source of shame. It had become an act of bravery. As my audience grew, I was approached by a publisher who expressed interest in turning my blog into a book. The idea fascinated me and triggered a surge of excitement that I hadn't felt in a long time. This was the next step in my journey, a chance to articulate my experiences and hard-won lessons in a way that would resonate with even more people. As I began writing the outline, I felt a familiar wave of inspiration washing over me. I poured my heart into every word, reflecting on the turbulent emotions of my past, while emphasizing the healing and growth that followed. I wrote about the importance of boundaries, the significance of self-love, and the journey toward forgiveness, both for oneself and for others. Each chapter blended personal anecdotes with practical advice, making the narrative engaging while infusing it with hope. The process was cathartic, allowing me to revisit moments that had once felt painful and rewrite them as stepping stones that shaped me. I relished in the planning, often staying up late, fueled by passion and a newfound sense of purpose. Writing became more than just a way to document my life. It became a form of artistic expression, a way to share my soul with the world. As I delved deeper into writing, the connection I formed with my readers blossomed. They offered their stories in return, sharing their trials and triumphs. With each email and message, I felt my purpose solidify. I was not merely sharing my experience, but creating a movement anchored in resilience and strength. Together, we uplifted one another, and I had become part of a larger tapestry of healing. After a year filled with creativity and community, my book was finally published, a moment that felt surreal yet invigorating. Holding the physical copy in my hands felt triumphant. It was a culmination of every tear shed, every moment of doubt, and every ounce of strength I had summoned over the past months. The title, Reclaiming Me, A Journey Beyond Betrayal, felt fitting. It encapsulated not just my story, but the stories of so many who had shared their struggles and victories with me. The launch event was bittersweet. Friends, family, and supportive colleagues filled the venue, their warmth radiating through the air. When I stepped onto the stage, my heart raced, but as I glanced out at the familiar faces, a wave of confidence washed over me. I spoke candidly about my journey, touching on the heartbreak, betrayal, and, most importantly, the path to healing. It was empowering to share my experiences with an audience that was so connected to my story, and when I finished, a standing ovation erupted, engulfing me in a fervor of applause and encouragement. After the event, I signed books and chatted with many attendees. One woman caught my attention. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Your story really resonated with me," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I thought I was alone in my pain. Your journey gives me hope that there is light at the end of this dark tunnel." We talked for a while, and I realized the impact of my words rippling out into the lives of others. It was not just my healing, but a collective healing, sparking conversations about betrayal, trust, and recovery. The book tour that followed was both exhilarating and exhausting, taking me to various cities and connecting me with thousands of individuals who had grappled with similar heartbreaks. Each event reinforced what I had come to understand. Healing wasn't a solitary path. It was a shared journey, navigated with support, empathy, and courage. As the months slipped by, I frequently found myself reflecting on how far I had come. I cherished the friendships I had nurtured through this journey, especially with Laura and Emily, who had become like sisters to me. They stood by my side, cheering me on, celebrating my victories, and offering solace during tougher days. We spent countless nights discussing dreams, fears, and how to navigate the complexities of life, and each interaction deepened our bond. One afternoon, while we were lounging in Emily's apartment, sipping herbal tea and reminiscing about our experiences, we started brainstorming ideas for a collaboration. What if we created a safe space for women to connect and share their stories? Emily suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. A platform where we uplift one another, workshops, resources, maybe even retreats focused on healing together. As the idea took root, I felt an electrifying thrill at the possibilities. It was more than just a project. It was an opportunity to foster a community built on understanding and empowerment. With Laura's expertise in event planning and Emily's background in psychology, we quickly set to work. Together, we launched the Rise Initiative, a program dedicated to helping those affected by betrayal reclaim their power and find joy in their lives again. The response was overwhelming. We organized workshops and discussions around topics like self-acceptance, emotional resilience, and reclaiming one's identity post-betrayal. Women began to flock to our gatherings, sharing tears and laughter alike, bonding over shared narratives. We created a space where healing felt not just possible, but tangible. Ultimately, it was not merely about our experiences with heartbreak, it was about supporting one another to rise stronger. Those gatherings became filled with stories of loss and triumph, creating a rich tapestry of hope and courage. As I facilitated exercises around self-compassion and designing personal missions, I felt deeply fulfilled, watching the participants gradually transform their pain into strength. As the initiative flourished, I reflected continuously on how life had shifted in just a few short years. It was almost ironic how the very thing that had haunted me, Jack's betrayal, became the catalyst for my most significant growth. My heart had been broken, yes, but it had also been rebuilt stronger than ever. I had grown from a place of shame to a place of empowerment. Yet, even amid all this success, learning to navigate my personal life remained a delicate dance. Dating was an unexplored frontier, one I approached with apprehension rather than eagerness. I had spent so much time healing that the idea of opening my heart to someone new felt daunting. My friends encouraged me to explore relationships again, sharing their own dating adventures and mishaps, but I was still hesitant to put myself out there. One evening, Laura suggested we try an online dating app together just to see what it was like. "We can treat it as a fun experiment," she said, her laughter infectious. After a few reluctant discussions, I agreed to create a profile with her guidance. As I filled in the sections, I approached it with levity, recalling all the personal growth I had achieved. I was not looking for anything serious. I simply wanted to explore and meet new people without the weight of expectation. With a few witty phrases about my love for books and my passion for travel, my profile was complete with a few carefully chosen photos that highlighted my personality, a candid shot of me laughing with friends, a picturesque moment from my last hiking adventure, and a lovely image of me holding my book at the launch event. The first few matches were lighthearted and casual. I chatted with different people, exchanging messages filled with humor and curiosity. I found myself rediscovering a part of me that had been dormant during the tumultuous time with Jack. The excitement of meeting new individuals ignited a spark I thought might have vanished forever. Each conversation helped me heal little by little, reminding me that life still held moments of joy and connection. One evening, a particularly charming man named Ethan caught my attention. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with shared interests in literature, travel, and podcasting. He seemed genuine, a refreshing change from the past. After a few weeks of messaging, we agreed to meet for coffee at a local cafe, my heart racing with a hint of nervous excitement. On the day of our date, I chose a vibrant floral dress that complemented my mood and radiated confidence. As I arrived at the cafe, I glanced around, taking deep breaths to keep the apprehension at bay. When Ethan walked in, my initial jitters subsided. He was even more captivating in person. His warm smile put me at ease, and as we exchanged pleasantries, I felt comfortable almost immediately. Our conversation unfolded easily, touching on everything from travel adventures to our favorite books. There was a palpable chemistry between us, and old doubts faded as we shared laughter over shared experiences. I admired the ease with which he carried himself, a stark contrast to the guarded hesitance I had felt in past relationships. When Ethan reached for my hand across the table, I didn't pull away. Instead, I smiled, allowing myself to be present in the moment. As our coffee turned to dinner, I shared my journey of healing, hesitating at times but ultimately deciding that vulnerability was essential. To my surprise, Ethan listened with genuine interest, appreciating my vulnerability. He divulged his own story, sharing experiences that had shaped him as he navigated life's ups and downs. It felt organic and refreshing, an exchange of honesty that deepened our connection. As the night came to an end, we stepped outside to find the evening air crisp and inviting. "I really enjoyed our time together," Ethan said, his voice sincere as he smiled down at me. "Would you like to do this again sometime?" A rush of excitement coursed through me. For the first time since the divorce, I felt hopeful about romance. Over the next several weeks, Ethan and I went on many more dates, exploring different parts of the city, trying out new restaurants, and even attending a small concert together. Each experience helped me lower my walls gradually, allowing myself to be more open and welcoming to the idea of love. He respected my pace, never rushing me into vulnerability, but also never shying away from his feelings. On a particularly enchanting night, while walking along the waterfront, the city lights reflecting on the water, Ethan turned to me and said, "Mia, I really admire your strength. You've been through so much, but you've come out on the other side shining even brighter." His compliment flooded me with warmth that blossomed within my chest. "Thank you," I responded, slightly bashful. "It's been a journey, but I'm finally starting to understand who I am again." As Ethan and I continued to grow closer, I began to realize that while I was still healing, I had come a long way. Each relationship had taught me about the importance of boundaries, the necessity of understanding one's worth, and how love should feel, safe and uplifting. I learned that opening my heart didn't mean abandoning my self-respect, or what I had fought so hard to reclaim. But as I navigated this unfolding romance, I was also reminded that healing isn't linear. There were moments when the echoes of my past would creep in, moments of doubt where I found myself questioning if I truly deserved this newfound happiness. I confided in Emily and Laura, who reassured me that uncertainty was normal. "You're not alone in this," Emily reminded me. "You have a support system that loves you. Lean into it while you figure things out." I began to incorporate this belief into my daily routines. I started journaling more, documenting my thoughts, feelings, and experiences as a practice to ground myself. I wrote letters to my past self, reassuring her that she was safe, loved, and deserving of happiness. I also reached out to the community I had built through the Rise initiative, stunningly aware of how far I had come. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, casting a warm golden glow, I laid out the picnic blanket on the soft grass. The scent of earth and the crispness in the air made everything feel alive. Ethan and I brought our favorite foods, a mix of savory cheeses, fresh fruits, and homemade sandwiches, all nestled in a basket adorned with a checkered cloth. As we settled down, the sky transformed into a canvas of oranges and purples, and the first stars began to twinkle. Conversation flowed easily between us, punctuated by laughter and comfortable silences. I felt a sense of peace enveloping me, one that I had long searched for. It was a reminder that my journey of self-discovery was worth every challenge and heartache. In that moment, I took a deep breath, channeling all the affirmations I had written in my letters, to be present, to cherish this connection, and to recognize the beauty around me. I glanced at Ethan, and in his eyes, I saw a reflection of my growth. He was supportive, understanding, and utterly present. As the sky turned darker, we pulled out a small lantern, its light flickering softly. Ethan proposed we share our hopes for the future. I began, speaking about my aspirations, the dreams I had started to nurture as seeds in my heart. He listened intently, encouraging each thought I shared while often adding his own visions. By the end of the evening, I felt renewed. Not only had I journeyed through my past, but I was also building a vivid tapestry of what lay ahead. I realized then that the act of sharing, not just with the community I had built, but with Ethan, was utterly transformative. As we packed up the picnic, I held on to the moment, grateful for the journey I was on and the people who walked alongside me. In the coolness of the night, I understood that embracing my past and connecting with others were key parts of this journey forward, making every step worth taking. Thank you for watching. If you can support this video with a like and a subscription so you don't miss new videos.
Bye.